Hey, Deck It Out DIYers, we are going to go through our tutorial for our May tiered tray subscription. So in your box, make sure you have all the pieces. I kind of scattered mine around. You're gonna have to peel off the tape and then flip your letters over so that they read the correct way for you. There is an obnoxious amount of flowers that go on this round flower sign. You don't need to use them all on this project. You could sprinkle them other places, or you don't use them, all of them at all. So it's kind of up to you, but I tried to group every piece. So pull them apart, lay them on your tape, and then we will get started with our project. You also have 5 paint colors included this month, along with the sponges. Okay, so a tip for painting. We have fun, bright colors because spring is fun. We're getting back into the bright colors of summer. So I like to do a light coat of white on my pieces and then paint over them because it helps the paint color pop. So you'll see that I'm going to do that with all of, or most of, my paint pieces today. So you can just give them a light paint job. Now, if you're new to Deck the Halls and this kit, I'm putting paint on my sponge, okay, and you can kind of see the puddle of paint over here. I'm going to dab it off because you don't need a lot of paint, like the thickness of tissue paper, and then you just dab it. Now, the reason why I have it on the tape is so I can hold on to the tape and not hold on to the painted flower that I'm trying to paint, and then I get paint on my hands, okay? So this is just to help keep your hands a little bit cleaner, less full of paint while you create your projects. So we're just going to dab the paint. Baby wipes work really well to wipe paint off your hands. The paint will not come out of your clothes very easily, if at all. So do that, and then figure out what colors you want to paint, and then we'll talk about that, and we'll kind of go through our projects together. Okay, one thing I didn't show you is I'm going to paint this round sign white. Okay, and you'll notice that there are shiplap score lines in this. So I take my sponge, I'm gonna paint mine white, like I said, and I'm just gonna kind of go over it. Now, if you really like that shiplap look, I really like that look. It just adds a little bit to the sign. I'm going to paint my sign. I'm pulling the paint off the edge. You don't need to paint the edge unless you want to, but they're cut on a laser, so they're nice, clean edges. If you get paint on it, I just kind of wipe it off, okay? While the paint is wet, take a toothpick, X-Acto knife, safety pin, something with a point, and then pull the paint right through just to give those lines a little bit more definition. Now, these lines here are so that we can take our words or our letters and we can lay them on and not have to think too hard about how to make it look just right. Okay, so it's okay if you cover up these, the words, because they're just there as a guide. So I don't worry too much. I just try not to fill them in completely when I'm painting. So as you can see, I'm just dabbing paint, pulling it across. And with white, you might want 2 coats of paint, but you decide, depends on what look you're going for, okay? And then while the paint is wet, take your knife, and if you go off a little bit, I just repaint a little bit. Take your knife, your toothpick, paper clip, safety pin, whatever has a nice sharp tip that fits in those grooves. Oops, there we go. So now I have a double line, so I'm just gonna cover that back up, clean off my end of the X-Acto knife. You can tell I use this for painting a lot. And there we have it. And just let it dry. Okay, DIYers, so we've been hustling along, painting all these projects. I wanted to call to your attention this Tulip Farms. So it's engraved, okay? It's etched in there, it's deep. But when you are painting, you do not want a lot of paint on your sponge. so that it doesn't get in those grooves. Okay, so I would do a couple of gentle, very light taps, dabs of paint across the license plate there. So I put paint on here, and I'm going to dab all of it off almost, and then I'm just going to lightly dab, and then it will keep your words really nice. Now I'm going for a pink flower truck, because who doesn't want a pink flower truck? And I'm going to keep some of my pieces white, but I base coated them like you've been seeing me do, and I'm going to just so that my color pops a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back in, and I'm going to paint my cute little tulips here and get them ready. They're going to go on the back of the truck. Now, there is a detail brush, so you could use your detail brush. You're also going to see me use my paint markers, okay? This is the paint marker that I get. There are a lot of different paint markers, but if you watch our Make It Monday lives, you'll also see me using them there. They work really well. So I'm going to use some of my paint markers to do the small flowers over here. I'll probably paint the flower and then use my paint marker to do the dots in the middle. You really don't have to. You have the detail brush, but I might be using it over there. I might be using it on here. I was thinking maybe a little details on the tires, but we'll kind of see how it goes. So we're just going to continue painting. I base coat it in white. I paint the color over the top. Do a couple layers if you would like, but we'll keep going. Okay, as I'm getting ready to do the box, the faux box, I dabbed really lightly. I wanted it to look a little bit more rustic. And again, we're here with a really deep cut, the words here. So what I want to do is I dabbed my sponge and paint. I'm dabbing it off, and then I'm just going to lightly, I didn't paint this white before. I probably should have. Because now you can totally see what I mean about brightness, right? But it'll be okay. I'm lightly dabbing, okay, the background. We'll do green, but I'm going to paint these white first. Then I'm going to do the coin, or the dollar amount, the 25 cents. In a different color. Now there's these little lines here. I will probably use my marker to outline those. But remember to just go light with thin coats. And then we're gonna pretty quickly assemble all of our pieces together. So keep painting, then we'll come back and we will assemble. Okay, so everything is painted. We are ready to assemble. So in your kit, you will have super glue. Remember that the super glue is super glue. It will glue your fingers together. Okay, so keep it on your project pieces. Okay, and when you go to assemble, I won't assemble this one first because it's wet. We'll go with the banner. So when we go to assemble our pieces, you can either put the glue on the pieces or you can put your glue in on the board in the etched lines. You don't need a ton of glue, but you just need enough to get it on there. Place your project piece, and then let it sit and set. Okay, so you're just gonna go through and put this together with all of your pieces. Now for this one, this particular banner, you know you have the letters, you've already matched them up. So you don't need to put them down before you figure them out. For this Flower Fresh Market one, I would arrange it on your board before you glue it down, so you know that everything fits the way you want it to, and you make sure that you have the colors where you want them. Okay, so this one was a little bit more straightforward, but I feel like this one is going to do a little bit more, you're gonna do a little bit more designing with that one. Okay, so you'll just watch. We'll continue to place these together, and then we'll come back and look at all of our pieces at the end. All right, DIYers, there we are with our tiered tray of the month for May. All of our flowers are blooming or starting to bloom. And so this tray will definitely brighten up your space and be beautiful until June, right? So here are, oh, and I missed the banner. Here are our pieces. I'll come back and give you a quick tutorial about the tray with the stencil. So I can come back and do that for you guys. But here are all of our pieces. I can't wait to see what you created. So post it in our group, Deck It Out DIYers on Facebook. See you guys soon. Hey DIYers, let's take a look at how to make your bag to keep all of your tray pieces in there. So in your box, you will get this stencil that says Spring Tray. And then this is your canvas bag. So what you want to do is you want to take your stencil, go to the corner, flip it over, and you're going to carefully peel back. What you want is the blue and clear to be stuck together and the white to come up clean, okay? So pull it all the way back, slow and steady, okay? And then once you are done, this is now a big sticker, so don't stick it to anything, just set it aside for a moment. You're going to take this piece of paper that came off the back, and I like to stick it inside the bag just as a as a safety precaution for it to not bleed all the way through, because these are canvas bags, it will go through. Okay, so now I can see it. Maybe you can see it a little bit on the video too. So I can see it, it's right here. And I'm gonna scoot it a little bit further down, because then when I cinch the bag after I put all the pieces in, I'll still be able to read it. Okay, then you're going to take your stencil and you're gonna lay it down where you like it. Remember, it's a sticker, so once it's down, it's down. You can use your hand to smooth it out. Sometimes people like to use something like a credit card or something with a hard edge. In the studio, we call these squeegees. You don't have to. You can really just use your hands to smooth it out. Now you'll pick up the clear, and it is going to be on there with 1 or 2 pieces of clear transfer tape. Mine happens to be 2, so I'm gonna pull them up. The goal is to pull up the clear with the blue stain down on the tote bag, on the canvas bag, okay? This you can now throw away. Your stencil is on here. Now you're gonna pick your color. I think I will do the blue. Okay, so you're gonna dip your sponge in. I like to pull off the excess a little bit, dab a little bit on the side, and then you're going to lightly dab. This is going to take a couple of coats of paint, okay, because it is canvas, but lightly dab. And then we'll repeat this process. When you are done, we'll pull up the stencil and you will have your bag labeled. Okay, when you're done dabbing your paint, you can give it 1 or 2 coats. My paint is still wet, but you can pull this stencil up as long as you don't drop the wet part back down. So I'm gonna pull this up, okay? And now, there you go, it's labeled Spring Tray for me. You're going to pick out these insides. you can just use your finger or an X-Acto knife, any little tool that you have that will help you pick up the little corner and pull out the inside, the middle of the stencil piece, okay? And then once it's dry, you can take out the paper. I would leave it in there until this is dry, and then you are all set. Your bag is ready to go. Thanks for joining us for this month's Deck It Out Tiered Tray of the Month. See you soon.